It's Korea Blockchain Week, and this week's edition of Crypto Trader comes to you from the Decentral Blockchain Cafe in the heart of Seoul. This week's edition of Crypto Trader with a live studio audience starts right now. Block One, the company behind the EOS protocol, pays the SEC $24 million for the sale of unregistered securities in the EOS crowd sale. While in the same week, the SEC gives the makers of Kucoin a slap on the wrist. Is this kind of action protecting investors, or is it stifling blockchain entrepreneurship? We're going to be looking at that right here tonight. The Crypto Ratings Council is a voluntary organization started by Bittrex, Coinbase, and Kraken to help them determine whether tokens are actually securities. Will this kind of self-regulation work? And if it does, where will your token land up on this matrix? Bitcoin battles and alts get wrecked. Is this all because of BACT? Were our expectations too high, and should we be disappointed? Coverage of the Crypto Trader Meetup from the Decentral Blockchain Cafe is brought to you by Terra, Matic, and Praxis. The biggest story of the week must be that Block One has paid the SEC $24 million for the sale of unregistered securities relating to the EOS crowd sale. Now, as the SEC goes on this rampage in the West, stifling entrepreneurship and blockchain innovation, what's happening here in Korea? And do they actually care what's happening in the United States? With me, I've got two guests who come from amazing backgrounds, both who run funds and other big businesses in blockchain. I've got Shinhei Lee and I've got Baek Kim. Shinhei, you invest both in Korea and you invest in the West.
Wherever in the world.
So where is it easier to invest, and where are there better investments at the moment?
Well, I think it's not really based on geography, but it's really more about the projects. But I actually see very differences between like the project from the Western market and then project from the Asian market. And this is my theory that technical breakthrough will come from the Western market, but the mass adoption or the real business breakthrough will come from the Asian market, especially China and Korea. And it's very obvious. We still talk about layer one, scalability, and talk about big layer one projects such as like Definity in the Western market. But in Korea and China, we really actually talk about how we can make the blockchain technology more easier for like usual people, right?
So this is adoption playground. So what you're saying is, let the scientists work in the West and build all these protocols and leave it to Asia to get mass adoption. Now, when you talk about mass adoption here in Korea, what are the darling child projects? What are the projects that are really making headway when it comes to mass adoption?
Well, I think there are two parts. Actually, big companies such as Samsung and LG, not to mention like Hanwha, some of the biggest company in Korea and also in China too, right? Tencent, Baidu, they're all really spending a lot of energy to invest and study blockchain. And Samsung, as we know, Samsung has come out with the Samsung blockchain phone. Also partnership with the Klaytn, which is Kakao, GroundX, Kakao's blockchain project called GroundX.
Very exciting project, and actually we've got them coming up next on the show.
Yeah.
Beck, I'm looking at you. When I spoke to you earlier, and I mentioned to you that, you know, Block One is paying the SEC $24 million.
Right.
You looked at me as if, well, I don't know anything about the SEC. Is the SEC not a consideration for people in Korea? I mean, do you not care about legislation in the West?
It is true that SEC regulations does not touch the consumers of the Korea as much as the ones based in US. But I think this case of SEC filing $24 million to Block One is a good case study for a lot of the founders and the decentralized project in the industry, because $24 million is only about 0.5%.
It's 0.5% of the raise.
How much they raise, and Block One obviously denied or didn't comment at all on any of the claim from the SEC. So even though EOS may be security, they are getting waiver from the SEC that it is not going to be probably get questioned again. So it's a good precedent for the industry, and I think for the consumers in the Asia as well, gives a different perspective on how this landscape could go in the future, both for the developers but also for the retail investors.
So when I'm in the US, every project that I speak to, the major thing on their radar is the SEC. Before they do anything, they worry about legislation. Is it the same here in Korea? Or do projects have a framework and for them it's more business as usual, getting things done?
Yeah, it is very different. So one of our portfolio props based in New York actually went through the very compliant manner of process as how Blockstack did. And they got the first clearing from SEC as a social use case of a utility token-based security. But in Asia, a lot of it is actually based on how they position it in the market in a commercial sense. So a lot of the leading projects in Korea are relatively top-down, such as Klaytn, Terra, and many others who come from the traditional business background and are able to implement decentralized backend to push the boundaries of the mass adoption. So as a fund, we want to give them a clear guideline on how they should proceed in this market and beyond. So Simon, actually CEO of Hash, is actually actively on the board with the government and president to give a crypto guideline, especially on the Busan city, which is an experiment on how the control environment of cryptocurrency experiment could go in the city with millions of population.
We saw the Busan guy speaking.
Yeah.
We are running out of time, but I want to ask you one question.
Sure.
There's the Crypto Rating Council, which is a self-regulatory body which was started by the likes of Kraken, Bittrex, and Coinbase. Do you think that self-regulation is the way?
Well, I think self-regulation is a great practice that we set the standard within the industry, but I think at the end we still need to collaborate with the regulators. And yes, I think it's really important that push the boundary of self-regulation to real regulation so that we can play within the legit environment.
Well, hopefully that all works. Next up, we're going to be speaking to the two projects which are the darling childs of Korea adoption, so stay tuned.
The VideoCoin Network, the next generation of cloud video services. Consumers are streaming video anywhere and everywhere, cutting the cord on TV and cable. This is rapidly transforming media and contributing to high costs of encoding, storing, and delivering media files over the internet. Entrenched cloud providers control the market. Centralized and expensive, they create vendor lock-in and inhibit innovation. Content publishers have no way to recover the skyrocketing costs of these new services. The entire video industry is at an inflection point. Enter the VideoCoin Network. Powered by a decentralized video ecosystem, it transforms cloud video into an optimized, algorithmically driven market. This allows us to deliver revolutionary price efficiencies, much like Airbnb and Uber. Join the VideoCoin revolution at videocoin.io.
All right, let's take a look from a studio audience and see what's going on during Korea Blockchain Week, as well as what they're trading. David, how has Korea Blockchain Week been for you?
It's been a blast. It's been really great to meet with all our XX collective community here, and so many people are starting to download our apps and waiting to use our metadata shredding messaging.
Is that the next wave that we've seen here this week during Korea Blockchain Week, messaging applications?
WeChat has proven that the killer app for smartphones, what people want is messaging combined with payments and mini apps, and that's what we're doing with Elixir in practice.
Let's hear from others. So how has Korea Blockchain Week been for you?
It's been great. I think in Asia, Korea Blockchain Week is like the top event to go in Asia.
Anything special you're trading these days?
Just Bitcoin and Ethereum mostly. Maybe when the market picks up, let's see.
And what do you trade, Amanda?
BTC, Chainlink, and a little bit of Ethereum, hoping for a big pump for Ethereum 2.0.
Are you seeing a bull market or bear market?
Well, the last week hasn't been great, but we've seen some good turnaround here, and honestly, I think things are going to keep moving.
What can we get from our trader friends here? What are you seeing in Korea so far, Jason?
So I'm seeing a lot of, I would kind of say speculation, but it is a positive. It has a lot of potential. Right now, I think it's just the anticipation is growing so much that eventually it's going to burst.
Market sentiment right now isn't that great. So, you know, you've talked to a lot of people with charts and everything, and the common theme right now, seems to be that we're going to face 6,000, 7,000 range.
Are we in a bear or bull market?
Well, we don't really care about the temporary status of crypto. We believe in the long run.
So are we in a bear or bull market?
I don't really care, and I don't really know. I think the beauty of cryptocurrency is the volatility in the market. I think if you have a strategy that's only trying to go one direction, you're asking to get yourself in trouble.
You're buying?
I'm buying, yeah. I'm buying on every dip.
All right, guys, you have heard it here in this live studio audience at the Dissenter Blockchain Cafe.
Welcome back to our special edition of Crypto Trader, coming to you from Decentral Cafe here in the heart of Seoul. It's a Crypto Trader meetup, and it's sponsored by Terra, Praxis, and of course, Matic. We've been talking about all things, and now we're talking about adoption in Korea. And in that spirit, I've got two of the biggest and best projects for adoption in Korea. I've got Do-Kwon from Terra, and I've got Joseph Hwang from Klaytn. Do, I'm going to look at you, because you guys are the darling child of Korea blockchain adoption. Is this the ground where adoption is going to happen? And if yes, how are you guys doing it?
Well, I think there's definitely advantages to starting in Korea in terms of having prior exposure to crypto. We have the highest proportion of the population having traded, owned, or touched crypto in some capacity. So in terms of the learning curve, having to explain concepts and having to drive adoption and actual usage, there's definitely an advantage. Having said that, I think the reason why Terra is getting a lot of attention is because we're eliminating most of that learning curve altogether. Because we don't really believe that the end user necessarily needs to learn a lot of things in order to benefit from blockchain technology.
So if I look at Terra and I look at the app that you guys have built, it's called the Chai app, right? Now
Yes.
that app doesn't look like you're on blockchain. It kind of just looks like you're on a normal payment app.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody who's using internet applications should have to know anything about TCP IPs or sockets either, right? But it just works, and that's sort of what we're going for here. So the Chai is like a fully licensed payment gateway that to the end user just looks like any other payment gateway. So it links to your bank account to the payment gateway, and then you can buy things online in most of the stores that you love. But the only difference is that to the merchants, that's where really most of the magic happens. We settle faster, we charge lower transaction fees, and it just works.
And they don't know that they're actually using blockchain.
They don't know that they're using blockchain.
Okay, now just talk to me. When you say you settle faster,
Yeah.
I mean, settle faster than Visa and MasterCard?
No, it's any traditional payment gateway. So traditional payment settlement times in Korea, for instance, is about 5 days, Visa, MasterCard, and banking rails combined. And then if you look at Japan, it's about 7 days, and in Southeast Asia, it can go up to 14 days. We settle in 6 seconds because once we receive the money from the consumer, we settle over each block to the merchants. So that's
it's real time.
way better.
So you're using blockchain, nobody knows you're using blockchain, and things are just happening more efficient.
Absolutely.
Now, Joseph, I want to talk to you about your project because I love what you guys are doing. Whereas the West thinks that it's all about WhatsApp and Telegram, you guys have got Kakao, and you guys are launching a smart contract platform into Kakao, or a token platform into Kakao. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Klaytn is a public blockchain project of Granex, a subsidiary of Kakao. We are the major messenger in Korea. So our project, I will consider it the third generation of blockchains. The first generation of blockchain is Bitcoin. Basically, it was born after the financial crisis. Second generation of blockchain was Ethereum. It introduced the concept of smart contract. The third generation of blockchain is Klaytn, and it is aimed to bring about the mass adoption of blockchain technologies in Korea and out of Korea. So you can consider that it is one of those major blockchain projects launched by some big organizations like Libra and of course Klaytn. We have got good support from other companies as well. So we have a governance council members. We have a governance councils. We have many governance council members from major corporations such as LG International, LG Electronics.
You guys have built a Libra, but you've built it quietly here in the background. You haven't fought with the regulators, and you're building this version of Libra. Now, you guys raised money, and as far as I understand, your mainnet is now live. Is that correct?
Our mainnet is alive already from June this year. So we are a bit different from Libra in the sense that Libra is a stable coin. We are a public blockchain. So technically speaking, our main aim is to bring about the mass adoption of blockchain technologies. So we do it through two major steps. One step is the famous Samsung Klaytn phone. So this is a major step in the sense that it makes using blockchain much easier. You know, ordinary people, they don't know how to use the soft key, the private key, the public key. But with this Samsung smartphone, everything's become much more easier for them.
So you're taking the biggest phone here in Korea and you're adding to it the biggest messenger in Korea, and then you're adding Klaytn blockchain on top of both of those. That sounds like quite a killer combination.
It is, I would consider, personally speaking, I would consider it a giant step. It takes time to persuade and educate the public on how blockchain technologies will change their life. But I believe that in the long term, blockchain technologies can help a lot to actually facilitate transactions, to ensure that transactions can be verified easily and more cheaply. And we also have another initiative, which is the KRYPTOTRADER digital wallet. It is a digital currency wallet built into a messenger called Kakao Messenger. So you can find it in other services. We are still in the R&D stage. We want to make it as good as it can and ensure that ordinary users that are not familiar with blockchain technologies can have exposures and also can find using blockchain technologies easier.
So while the West is focused on WhatsApp and Telegram, and while Libra carries on fighting with the regulators, right here in Korea, it's all about mass adoption, and these guys here are making great headway. Next up, it's going to be trading, trading, and more trading. In fact, the rest of the show is going to be all about how to make the best trades. Stay tuned for our live episode from the Blockchain Cafe here in Korea.
So you've heard about these two cryptos that are going to explode?
Names, or I'm posting your karaoke video.
You said you deleted it. Okay, there's two. Here's one.
Tired of missing out? Join eToro and start trading cryptocurrencies in no time. eToro, sign up for free.
Buying the cryptos?
No, I'm watching you living la vida loca.
We're back here at the Decentral Cafe in Seoul, Korea with a live studio audience. And so, as I promised you, the rest of the show is actually all about trading, and trading it is. And if you fancy yourself as a trader, you may want to watch this. Battle Royale it's called, and it's an innovative new trading competition run by the FTX exchange. Now, this competition is not only about trading and winning, but what you can do is you can take tokens and stake them on other traders. Now, speaking of other traders, I've got one of the master traders from this competition with me on the line. Cold-blooded Schiller, you're a master trader. In fact, I've seen some of your results. Why are you so excited about this Battle Royale competition?
So this gives us an opportunity to really prove ourselves in a competition space. So that's the number one reason I'm excited. And secondly, obviously there's some incredible prizes up for grabs. So to get an opportunity to take those down, I'll take it.
So as I understand it, this is not a regular trading competition because it's not only about winning, but you can also get people to bet behind you. Have you got followers? Are people betting behind you?
Yeah, so I'm currently the second most staked trader in the Battle Royale. There's close to $1 million behind my name currently. So people have certainly backed me. And now I've just got to live with the pressure and live up to the expectation.
So you've got $1 million of people betting behind you, betting that you're going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's living up to that now, then puts the pressure on my shoulders.
Okay, now I understand that FTX did a previous warm-up competition for this campaign. How did you do in the warm-up competition?
So it was a $100 buy-in to that tournament, $100 of your own starting capital. There were 48 hours to trade, and I turned that $100 into a little over 2,300, so 23 times original investment in that.
So you made 23x in 48 hours. No wonder people are putting money behind you. I need to ask you a question. If you're making so much money, where is the market going to go? Where are you putting your money on now?
I've been pretty bearish on crypto markets for quite a while. So that's where the majority of my profitable trades been coming from, is the short side. So right now I am waiting for a better entry on a BTC short. So that's kind of my play, is shorting across the board, just waiting for these nice entries.
So what you're basically saying is that the market's about to come down quite a lot actually.
Yeah, I'd really like to see BTC hit the region of around 5.5k. That's kind of my optimum zone. So I think that we'll get a little retracement here, and then that's where I'm looking for.
So you're talking about levels of 5,500 and those kind of levels. What are you basing that on?
So the region that we experienced at 11k and 12k was essentially distribution, and that distribution doesn't end after one leg down to this region. So I think that we get another leg down, which I believe if we get it will be heavily wicked up. I think that we'll be bought up quickly in that region, but I do think we'll spike down from here.
Okay, so I guess Bitcoin's going down. What about alts?
So alts, if BTC goes, then the alts are going to follow. So I will also be doing exactly the same play there. I think with all of the USD pairings, I think that, again, they're just going to follow BTC in this next leg.
So you're calling the market down. It sounds like it's going to be brutal, but you still think you can make money doing this. If our viewers want to go and follow you or trade on the FTX competition, where can they go?
So if you head over to FTX, which is ftx.com, you can participate in the Battle Royale using the sign up page there. And you can also stake behind any trader that you want to put your money in. And the other great thing about this is that you do not lose any of your staked capital. So if you stake a trader and they do not place, or if they end in negative profit at the end, then you do not lose any of your investment. That will be returned to you at the end. So essentially, it's a way of holding your money with a potential to get some upside gain.
All right, guys, so that's Cold-Blooded Chiller, and what he's saying is that the market is coming down. What do you think? Do you think the market's coming down? What are you basing your decision on? And I'm going to call up a chart that you actually sent me.
Yes. So, in fact, what we can see on my chart right here is something that is called a falling wedge. If you look at the two descending white lines, they form support and resistance. And yeah, generally this will perform as a bullish pattern where the odds of us breaking to the upside will be slightly higher than to the downside.
So wait, so you're saying it's going to go up, not down?
So the odds technically should be higher for us to break to the upside. There is one small little problem, however, right now, and that is the 200 daily moving average, which is the red line going through the chart. And currently the price is in fact below this very important moving average, which is a huge moving average for traders, because this usually marks if an asset is in a bear market or a bull market. And currently we are slightly below it. So it's very important for Bitcoin to go right back above it very, very soon, because otherwise there is, of course, the bear scenario where we could fall below the support. And in that case, yeah, lower prices are possible. But I would say the odds would be higher to the upside, actually much higher.
Okay, so you're calling it up, but if we go down, are you talking about 5,500? Are you talking about 4,000?
Actually, so if we were to break to the upside, I believe that we will go towards the technical target of 14,000. That would be the target in a falling wedge like this. If we were to break to the downside, if that happens, the bottom target in that case would probably be somewhere actually along the lines of 5.4K. That is the next major support area if you look at something called the VPVR, volume per volume range. And it would be easier to explain if I could show it, but it is a cluster of support at that level. And basically right now we are finding support in another cluster of support. So between these two supports, where we are right now and down to 5.4K, there is basically not a lot of volume traded, which means that basically if we break the current levels, there's like a free fall potential scenario where we go down to 5.4K.
So our previous Cold-Blooded Chiller said 5.5, you're saying 5.4. Let's call up your chart. What are you saying?
So we basically just made an episode about that a few days ago, and we were agreeing upon the bearish target of 5,400. However, this is very unlikely, and a question everyone is asking right now, since we had a huge breakout to the downside, is whether we are still in a bull market or whether we are entering a bear market right now. And we can see on this chart that the likelihood of us going into a bear market is actually pretty low, because what we can see with the green arrows pointing to the downside is that the Bitcoin price has always topped out at these moving averages, and we can see here the Fibonacci golden sequence, and this is something mind-blowing. It is something like a mathematical law of nature indicator, and we can see that the Bitcoin price at the first time has topped out at the purple line. The second time, over in 2013, it has topped out at the blue line, and then in 2017 the famous 20,000 blow off top was the orange line. So right now we should be topping out at the blue line, and we are still far away from that. And this recent breakout to the downside was actually something good, because we need to breathe. We need we need some time for the blue line, because it's a lagging indicator, to increase more. And us breaking to the downside was very, very bullish, because if we wouldn't have broken out to the downside, our bull market top would have been something like 16 or 18,000. So right now we can see that this moving average is increasing, and the more we are consolidating actually, and that's the catch here, the higher the next bull market top will be.
So you're calling it breathing, but let me tell you, when the market goes down, I can't really breathe.
Yes.
With me, I've got Rob and Nick. Guys, I'm looking at your charts, and specifically you, Rob, I'm looking at this chart that you sent me, which looks very scary, but what am I actually looking at?
It actually isn't too scary here. What we're seeing is, starting in 2016, the bull run from 16 to 17, 40% pullbacks were actually very common. And what we're seeing here on this next run out of the bear, we're experiencing a 40% pullback. We touched 14,000, now we just touched 7,800 on this pullback, but it's nothing to really freak out about. The macro structure is still bullish.
Are you buying?
Yes.
Are these the levels? Is this the low?
I can't say if this is the low, because how the Bitcoin and crypto markets work, they move so quickly and they're so emotional and volatile that you can see big wicks down that might wash out a lot of stop orders. So I can't tell you if this is the low, but I do think buying. Yes, I think buys here will end up being very good in the near future.
Nick, I want to hear your view here. You've sent us this chart. Are you buying at these levels? Is this the low?
I'm not convinced this is the low just yet. So as here you can see a monthly chart, I think below 8,500. We still have some possible room for downside back to the 7,400. Possibly if we break that, and on the monthly lower box, we'd probably head back down to the 2018 lows around 6,200, where I'd expect a pretty significant bounce just on previous price history. I think even if we rally above 8,500 right now, it's going to be a low volume rally, so I'd be watching the open interest on the derivative platforms and expect to retest the breakdown point around 93, 9,500, where I'd expect rejection and then a more impulsive move back down to the 7,400, hopefully breaking that down to 6,200. If the market does in fact rally above 93, 95, I think you'd have to turn to a more bullish on the macro scale right now and be expecting a retest of the 14,000.
I like the latter option where we're testing the 14,000. Now, I also like the fact that I've got two traders and you're saying we're going up and you're not that convinced. Yeah. Up until now, we've only spoken about Bitcoin.
Yep.
Is there still an alt market? Is there still volume? Are people still trading alts?
Of course they're trading alts, but I think it's all dependent on the amount of liquidity that you're trading. I'm not really bullish on alts long term. I look at network value and the amount of transactions that are going through their network to determine the health of them. I don't see a lot of them as a long-term investment unless they have large networks and user bases behind them. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of those projects. Obviously, if Libra goes through, Telegram network is launching, Kakao through Klaytn is launching, they have large user bases, Signal as well with mobile coin. So I'm going to be taking a pretty close look at those projects since they already have the user bases behind them.
All right, Rob, are you trading Bitcoin or are you trading alts?
Trading Bitcoin, but also some altcoins. It's been a dark period for alts, but I do think there's some things that are getting interesting here.
What are the most interesting alts?
Well, I'm looking at the Ethereum chart, and there's a big level here to see if it's bottoming out at around 2.2 million Satoshis. And if it can kind of break through, I think we can see that run in Bitcoin terms. Another one that's interesting is EOS. I mean, we saw the settlement the other day. but we didn't see too much price action after that, which is a little surprising to me.
I've got a theory about EOS. I've got a theory that they've got this war chest of, I think it's $4.1 billion, and they must have earned some interest on it, even though they paid the SEC a little pittance as a little tap on the wrist. But I've got a theory that they've been holding this war chest until they resolve their problems with the SEC. And now that the problems are resolved, they're going to start spending and they're going to start getting network value. And I know the Bitcoin maximalists aren't going to agree with me here, but I think only time will tell. For our In the Spotlight segment, we're featuring one of our sponsors here today at the Crypto Trader Meetup. Now, you may remember that we were in India a while back and we met a company called Matic. And right now, Matic is making a lot of waves in the market. Sandeep, welcome to Crypto Trader again. You know, I must say I'm so proud of you because the last time we spoke, you guys were pitching on stage in India.
Yep, exactly.
And you guys have come a long way.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me here. And yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey for us. When we last met, we were like just getting started at that time. And today we are like one of the most sought after projects in this space. So it's pretty good.
I've been watching your token price and it's been making all the right moves, even in this bear market.
Yeah.
Sandeep, remind our viewers again what Matic actually does.
Yeah. So Matic Network is a layer 2 scaling solution built on the built on the foundation of the Plasma framework, and it provides side chains for the scalability to Ethereum. So we all know that Ethereum, although it's the biggest platform and most used by the developers, but it's like it has scaling issues for now. It's not conducive for the dApps and high frequency or high transaction volume.
Well, we know
dApps.
scaling is the biggest issue at the moment.
Exactly.
And I remember you guys were solving that in quite an elegant way.
Exactly, and that's why one of the biggest benefits of Matic is that it's very easy for developers, and due to that we are getting a lot of traction in terms of adoption. We already have more than 20-25 dApps that are building on it. It's like currently one of the fastest growing blockchain platform in the space.
So you guys are actually getting adoption. I mean, all this talk and everybody's talking about transactions per second and whatever else. You guys are actually getting adoption.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the type of apps that are developing on Matic at the moment.
Correctly. So not only the smaller dApps that are building on Matic right now, there are like big projects like Decentraland, which are like top 100 projects which are building on us. Almost all the top games in the space are somehow exploring Matic. Many of them have officially declared that they are moving on to Matic. Others are in the testnet and they're expected to move. And there are many other big protocols also, which may be like top 100, top 150 projects which want to use Matic for their payments, let's say on-chain payments. So a lot of good stuff is happening, and we expect to Now,
Sandeep, when we were in India last time, there was a lot of blockchain energy. We were all in Hyderabad and there was a lot of blockchain energy. What's the mood like in India now? We keep getting reports, that cryptocurrencies are banned. Are people still building? And the reason I ask that is because India has probably the best engineers in the world, and it would be a tragedy to lose them if they didn't come onto blockchain.
Yeah. So actually, all that you hear in the news is all FUD, mostly. Some of the, out of 10 different regulatory bodies who are working on that, one of them had a, extreme this thing, and that too was blown out of context, and that guy is now fired who, got that particular framework, the clauses and all that, whatever that framework was. So now I hear that, is a very balanced framework that is going to come in February, March. That's what I'm hearing. I have no exact idea on that, but in terms of development energy, it's still one of the most promising spaces. I'll give you an example. For example, we do a lot of ETH global events, and biggest ETH global event has been ETH San Francisco, where there were 1,200 registrations, and with ETH India, they were this year, 3 months back, there were 1,900 applications. Even now we keep doing a lot of hackathons. We have around 40 hackathons going in all the top technology schools in India, and the participation is really huge over there, and there are many good startups that are coming out of that. Yeah.
So I think the message is don't believe everything you hear in the press unless you hear it on Crypto Trader. So that brings to an end our coverage of an amazing week here at Korea Blockchain Week. We'll see you all again next week from Osaka in Japan. Korea, it has been amazing. Thank you very much to everybody here at the Decentral Cafe. Thank you to our sponsors, thank you to Terra, to Praxis, and of course to Matic Network for making this amazing meetup possible. And thank you to you, our studio audience. Thank you very much.
Crypto Trader is proudly brought to you by eToro. Discover a simpler way to trade and invest in cryptocurrencies and more.